Good morning everyone. This is Midulach. In this video I am going to discuss about I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, a poem by Maya Angelou. Dr. Maya Angelou was one of the greatest voices in contemporary literature. She was an African American poet, memoirist, educator, historian, best-selling author, actress, dramatist, civil rights activist, filmmaker, director and teacher. So she was a multi-faced personality. She was born in 1928 in St. Louis, Missouri. Maya Angelou grew up during a time of racism and discrimination. Although Maya Angelou dealt with the harsh realities of a racial society, she was still able to focus on the things that mattered most in her personal life, such as her faith, the values of a traditional African American family, culture, and the community. As a teenager, Maya Angelou won a scholarship to study dance and drama at San Francisco's Lab School. Maya Angelou loved art a lot. Maya Angelou dropped out of school at the age of 14, but later went back to high school after the birth of her son Guy. During Maya Angelou's time away from school, she became San Francisco's first African American female cable car conductor in 1993. Maya Angelou was asked by Bill Clinton to read a poem at his inauguration. Bill Clinton was the former President of United States of America. The poem On the Pulse of the Morning was heard worldwide. She got immediate recognition after the publication of this poem On the Pulse of the Morning. Maya Angelou has received 3 Grammy Awards. In 2000, Maya Angelou was awarded the Presidential Medal of Arts, and in 2008, she was awarded the Lincoln Medal. Maya Angelou has also received over 30 honorary degrees. Maya Angelou also fluently speaks 6 different languages: English, French, Spanish, Italian, Arabic, and West African Fanti language. Dr. Maya Angelou did more for America as well as the world than we will ever know. From writing numerous poems and books, singing, dancing, acting, and being an inspirational speaker, she has changed the course of many people's lives. She brought any form of abuse into the open and made it more acceptable. By showing us her personal tragedy in I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, she broke many barriers in today's society. Also, she made literary history in writing poems that didn't rhyme but had a beauty that was unsurpassable. Angelou, a highly respected spokesperson for the black, was one of the first African American women to publicly discuss their personal life, and as such is referred to as a new kind of memoirist. Drawing on themes like identity, family, and racism, the depiction of her experiences forced people of all colors to reflect on race and their privileged or underprivileged status in the American society. Her books have been prescribed as textbooks for students in schools and universities internationally. She wrote many poems including Sent to Mother, Still I Rise, Phenomenal Women, The Black Family Pledge, Just give me a cool drink of water, for I die. In all was a woman. So these are the major poems written by Maya Angelou. And there are 6 autobiographical texts written by Maya Angelou. I know why the caged bird sings, gather together in my name, singing and swinging and getting merry like Christmas, the heart of a woman, all God's children need traveling shows, a song flung up to heaven. So these are major autobiographical texts written by Maya Angelou, which made international recognition to Maya Angelou. So I am going to discuss the poem. So I am going to read first stanza. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to climb the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. I know why the caged bird sings by Maya Angelou is arguably one of the most moving and eye-opening poems ever written. Angelou has written an autobiography with the same title, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. It is clear that this title had great significance to Maya Angelou, as it was the title to her entire life story. In her autobiography, she talked about the struggle of being a black author and a poet. She often felt that her words were not heard because of the color of her skin. She felt that in some ways she was still experiencing slavery. Although African American people were free people in Angelou's time, there were still many restrictions on them in society, making it so that many black Americans did not feel free at all. This poem, which can be read, it reveals the depth of those feelings. And in the first stanza, Maya Angelou refers to nature. She describes the way a free bird leaps on the back of the wind. She describes the bird's flight against the orange sky. The free bird has the light to climb the sky. Look at the phrase, to climb the sky. So the way she describes the orange sun rays gives the reader an appreciation for the natural beauty of the sky. And her description of the way the bird dips his wing helps the reader to appreciate the bird in his natural habitat, enjoying his freedom. So that is the first stanza. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. So this stanza of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings is in stark contrast with the first. By using the word but to begin this stanza, the speaker prepares the reader for this contrast. Then she describes the bird that stalks his narrow cage. The tone is immediately and drastically changed from peaceful, satisfied and joyful to one that is dark, unnerving, and even frustrating. She describes that this caged first can seldom see through his bars of rage. While the free bird gets to enjoy the full sky, the caged bird rarely even gets a glimpse of the sky. She claims that his wings are clipped and his feet are tied. Text from her autobiography reveals that Angela often felt this way in life. She felt restricted from enjoying the freedom that should have been her right as a human being. The speaker then reveals that these are the very reasons that the bird opens his throat to sing. So the author felt this way in her own life. She wrote and sang and danced because it was her way of expressing her longing freedom. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. So, the third stanza reverts back to the free bird, further cementing the differences between the free bird and the caged bird in the minds of the readers. She writes that a free bird thinks of another breeze. A free bird thinks of another breeze that he can enjoy the sighing trees and be free to find his own food. The tone with which she writes the first and third stanzas show sharply contrasts with the second stanza that readers can feel the difference. The first and third stanzas give the reader a sense of ecstasy and thrill, which is served to make the second stanza seem all the more droll and even oppressive. So the free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a down bright lawn, and he names the sky zone. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams, his shadow shouts on a nightmare scream, his wings are clipped, and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat to sing. So in this fourth stanza of the poem, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, continues the parallel between the free bird and the caged bird. The first line serves to starkly contrast the last line in the third stanza. It is dark and daunting. The reality of the life of the caged bird is revealed in this line. That bird stands on the grave of dreams. This reveals the author's feelings about her own dreams. So, she has so many dreams that have died because she was never given the freedom to achieve all that her white counterparts were able to achieve. Discrimination and racism made up her cage, and although she sang, she felt her voice was not heard in the wide world, but only by those nearest her cage. The second line of this stanza is not only dark but even frightening. The speaker describes the bird's cries as shouts on a nightmare scream. Shouts on a nightmare scream. Look at the second line of fourth stanza. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream, his wings are clipped and his feet are tired. So the speaker describes the bird's cries as shouts on a nightmare scream. At this point, the caged bird is so despondent in his life of captivity that his screams are like that of someone having a nightmare. The author then repeats these lines. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. So it's reaffirming the idea that the bird opens his mouth to sing because his desire for freedom and his desire to express himself cannot be contained. And look at the final stanza. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. So this last stanza focuses on the caged bird yet again. The author implies that even though the caged bird may have never experienced true freedom, deep down that bird still knows that it was created to be free. Although freedom to the caged bird is fearful because it is unknown, he still sings a fearful trill because he still longed for freedom. Here the speaker reveals that his cry for freedom is heard on the distant hill. This parallels to the author and her cry for freedom in the form of equality. She feels that her cries are heard, but only as a soft background noise. She still feels that she is caged, and that although she sings, her cries are heard only a distant noise. So the last line states, for the caged bird sings of freedom. With this, the speaker implies that although the caged bird may never have experienced freedom, he still sings of it because he was created for freedom. This is parallel to the African American struggle in Maya Angelou's time. She feels that black Americans wrote and sang and danced and cried out for the freedom they deserved, but they were only heard as a distant voice. Their voice is silenced, they are marginalized. Yet this would not stop them from crying out for freedom and equality, because they knew they were made for freedom, and they would not relent until they were given their rights as human beings to enjoy the freedom they were created to enjoy. So this is all about the poem. So read the poem very carefully, and I will send some notes regarding this poem. Thank you all.